well, what a good note to move on from, because that's where we found ourselves. We managed 5 words and a squiggle, which is an egg. And we felt that those possibilities were an egg cracking open. We weren't sure if it was a dinosaur inside or some kind of beautiful bird, but the egg was cracking open, and all of us came into the field not through a sort of understood route. We came in through working with art, with psychopathic criminals. We came in through family therapy. We came in through carpentry. We came in through experiential work. But we were all experimenting and trying some things that were really very different, and sort of found a home in the general field, I suppose, of OD. We felt, in terms of connection, therefore, that the world was changing quite rapidly in a period that had been quite structured in the 80s. Suddenly there was a whole host of possibilities. Certainly as a European, it felt that way, with the wall coming down and the Thatcher period ending and all sorts of stuff going on. And so on the sort of global scale, things were changing, and we looked back and thought that for all of us, it was a point where we were doing some quite different things with our lives. Some people staying in work for some length of time for the first time, others going in, some quite deep personal reflection. So we were all at a point of change as the world was changing too. And we thought the implications for us here were we must keep experimenting, but we thought a cautionary note there was that our experimenting caused some harm as well as some great benefit, and we should learn from what we did last time and make sure that we catch that this time round, and that maybe if we feel the world is freeing again, these things perhaps come in cycles. We're at a good time to be in this sort of exploration now. So that's, I think, where we got to.
We had a wave theory, because we found this as a time of a clash of worldviews really coming to the fore. And re-engineering and expert consulting were very much on the rise, very much in vogue, and yet at the same time, there was this other wave that was forming that was dialogic and whole system. And books were published that were seminal. The Fifth Discipline came out, and Leadership in the New Science, and the early future search kind of work were taking these ideas and bringing them into broader awareness. So things began to crystallize, and this stuff began to take root. So it moved from the early pioneering kind of stage into kind of early adopters and people beginning to make things happen. So this was really a time of a clash and confusion and mixed messages, and good things going on in some places and things falling apart in some places. And I'd say that this whole idea of systems thinking and systems theory started to make its way into our language and our vernacular. As a matter of fact, the term stakeholder, which came out of the future search world, entered the vernacular, and the idea of shareholders, when people first started talking about stakeholders, that confusion was there, and it's not there anymore. So that was kind of the sense of the era, and when we get into the implications, we're almost a generation into this now. And so this wild, divergent ride, I think there were 2 implications that we were seeing. Is a generation in, it feels like we should be at a point of finding the coherence, once again, of this, this vast breaking apart that we were experiencing in the early 90s, and that the initial conditions, we've been doing the experimenting with people-based work and with, whole group work, that we're just steeped, we're primed and ready for something to land and launch us into the next round of possibilities.
And then there was another wave in this group of OD practitioners. So there was a lot of stuff happening in OD, which is not my experience, so I'm going to try to represent it, but I don't know if it'll be accurate. So like OD was just taking on new forms apparently in this time, while the whole change, which is the world that I identified with, was happening. And there was all this new language, for myself, I was inside of an organization, and my CEOs came back with a set of tapes from a Pegasus conference, and the first thing I heard was Dee Hock talking about chaotic alliance, and I thought, what the hell is this stuff? So it was like new languaging, really exciting time, lots of new ideas, people trying all kinds of things, money for it, it seemed. My organization was investing in this stuff. A lot of learning, lots of talk about learning. We hired a chief learning officer where I worked, and that was a really big thing. Apparently in the OD world, there was lots of new training initiatives, new things like that. Also OD popping or moving into government. It was starting to take hold there. Changes in connection to government and schools. A lot of kind of murky lines between OD, HR training, that sort of stuff. OD goes online, kind of the early stuff around that. And a lot of talk about and work around new ways of working together was kind of the language that was big where I sat. So that's it.